Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into Canva for education. We've gathered some interesting perspectives on how this visual tool is actually being used in schools.
Yeah, that's right.
Our goal here is really to understand its main benefits, for both the teachers and the students. Basically, why this might be a useful tool for you, the listener, to understand.
Exactly. We're digging into what makes Canva for education work, specifically in that learning context.
Okay, so let's jump straight in. Canva for education compared to just, regular Canva.
Yeah.
What's the actual difference? Why even have a special version for schools?
Well, the key thing is that Canva for education has these extra features.
Right.
They're specifically designed for classrooms.
Okay.
Think like a bigger library, more educational resources, tools actually built for student group work, and, this is important, stronger controls for privacy and sharing.
Ah, right. That makes sense for schools.
Yeah, essential when you're dealing with student data. It basically takes Canva's design power and, fine-tunes it for education.
Right. So it's not just about making things look pretty. How can students use Canva to actually show what they've learned in ways that aren't just, say, writing an essay?
Oh, definitely. Canva really opens up possibilities for students to demonstrate understanding visually. So they could create infographics, maybe break down complex topics that way, or design presentations that, really communicate their ideas effectively. Maybe develop storyboards to map out a narrative or a process.
Okay.
Even things like interactive posters, blending text and visuals for more dynamic explanation. It pushes them to synthesize info differently.
That's really interesting. So what kinds of school assignments then really benefit from this kind of visual approach?
Well, think about anywhere visual communication is really key. That's where Canva can shine. Science projects, for instance, using visuals for data or experiments.
Yeah, I can see that.
History becomes more engaging with maybe timelines or visual summaries of events. Literature to character maps, visual theme analyses.
Even math?
Yeah, even in math. Students could design visuals to explain tricky concepts. It shifts the focus a bit from just reporting facts to active creation and visual problem solving.
And it's not just for students, right? What about the teachers? How are they using Canva day to day?
Not at all. Teachers are definitely using it. They're leveraging Canva to make their own classroom materials more impactful.
Like what?
Imagine really eye-catching posters that reinforce learning points, presentations that actually grab student attention, maybe professional-looking newsletters for parents,
Okay, yeah.
visually appealing worksheets, even things like social media graphics for school news or events. It's about making resources more engaging for everyone involved.
Collaboration's obviously huge in education. What does Canva for education offer for, working together?
Yeah, and what's fascinating there is how smoothly Canva handles collaboration. You can have multiple students working on the same design.
At the same time.
At the same time, yeah. They can add comments, share elements, contribute in real time. It really supports teamwork and that kind of peer-to-peer learning.
Sounds like a good way to build those teamwork skills. And it's not purely about looks, is it? How does using Canva maybe help with creativity or design thinking?
Right. It's definitely more than just aesthetics. Canva's interface is pretty intuitive, and the massive range of design elements, it sort of empowers students to experiment with visual communication. They're making choices about layout, fonts, images, all to get their message across effectively. That whole process, it naturally builds creativity and those design thinking skills.
Which is really about understanding a problem and finding visual ways to solve it.
Exactly. Learning to approach challenges with a visual solution in mind.
And I imagine it helps teachers, too, maybe save some prep time. You mentioned templates earlier.
Absolutely. Canva for Education comes loaded with ready-made templates specifically for educational uses.
Like lesson plans.
Lesson plans, presentations, certificates, worksheets, loads more. They give teachers a great starting point that they can then easily customize. Saves time, ensures things look polished.
Okay, another angle showing progress over time. How do digital portfolios fit in? Can you use Canva for that?
Yes, definitely. Both students and teachers can use Canva to build digital portfolios. Students can collect their best work, show their learning journey, how they've developed.
And teachers?
Teachers can showcase their teaching materials, their professional growth, maybe projects they've led. It's just a really effective way to visually represent accomplishments.
Makes sense. Let's talk about something critical: privacy. What about the sharing settings? What do educators need to be aware of?
Super important, this one. Canva for Education has specific privacy controls built in. Teachers absolutely need to understand these settings.
To keep student work safe.
Exactly, to make sure work is shared appropriately, safely, and, in line with school or district policies. They can control who sees designs, who can edit them. It's crucial.
Right. And one last point, accessibility. Anything specific to keep in mind there?
Yeah, it's worth considering. While Canva is generally user-friendly, thinking about accessibility is key for an inclusive classroom.
Like contrast.
Things like ensuring good color contrast in designs, especially for students with visual impairments, and remembering to add alt text to images for screen readers. Small adjustments that can make a big difference.
Okay, so just to quickly recap then, Canva for Education seems to offer engaging visuals, diverse assignment options, good collaboration tools.
Ways to boost creativity and design skills, plus practical templates and tools for teachers themselves.
Right. It's about using visual communication to make learning maybe more engaging and effective.
Precisely. Harnessing that visual power.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. Imagine if tools like Canva became, a standard way for students to demonstrate their knowledge. How might that really change the way we assess learning in schools? What could be the longer-term impact on both students and educators if visual literacy becomes just as fundamental as traditional reading and writing? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with us today.